My mom called my baby ugly at her first birthday party. Seriously, she did. So I cut her out of my life. I even went through and deleted every single picture of her. Now she's all over Facebook crying, acting like she's the victim. Sarah's first birthday was supposed to be low-key, you know? Just a sweet, simple thing. Like a really nice summer day or the way a cake smells after you've finished eating it. We had a little get-together in the backyard. Family, a few neighbors. Mismatched chairs, cheap cupcakes, kids screaming. It wasn't anything fancy, the kind of party you wouldn't write a poem about, but you'd maybe throw up a few blurry pictures online and call it a day. I never planned on remembering it, not like this anyway. Sarah was adorable in her little yellow outfit, a bumblebee stitched on the front. Of course, one shoe disappeared within 20 minutes, typical. Rick, my husband, was standing next to me, holding her a little awkwardly while we butchered "Happy Birthday." My sister Donna made a joke about our terrible singing, and everyone laughed way too hard. We always do that, you know. We overreact to everything. The whole thing smelled like plastic forks, citronella candles, and burnt burgers. It should have been perfect. So my mom showed up late, like always. She had this huge gift, all wrapped in gold paper, way too fancy for a little kid's first birthday, you know? It was like she thought we were celebrating royalty instead of Sarah getting frosting in her eye. My mom, Alina, she's never been great at reading the room. All she's ever cared about is changing the atmosphere. She pecked Sarah on the head without even looking, then turned to me with this fake smile, lips smiling, but her eyes were cold. "You look tired," she whispered, loud enough for Donna to hear it. "Still carrying that baby weight, huh?" I laughed, just a nervous little laugh, because I'd spent my whole life trying to not let her get to me. Rick tried to get her to chill, asking if she wanted a burger or something, but she brushed him off like he was a bug. She was practically inspecting the whole party like she was checking out a war zone. It happened right as we were trying to get Sarah to blow out her candle. Everyone was crammed around the table, phones out, pretending to be all excited. I leaned in close, smiling, helping Sarah reach for the flame. Then my mom leaned in real close, practically whispering in my ear, "She's going to grow up ugly just like you." I didn't even move. I didn't blink. I just froze, a smile stuck on my face, holding my daughter's tiny wrist with one hand, my phone clutched tight in the other like it was about to explode. The candle kept flickering. A tiny achoo from Sarah, and poof, the candle went out. Everyone cheered. That whole moment vanished, but not for me. Later that night, after Sarah was snoring and we'd cleaned the last smear of frosting from the patio, I was on the couch, scrolling through pictures like I was hunting for something. I didn't know what at first. Then I saw it. The photo was blurry and washed out. My face was a little crooked, my mouth doing that weird half-smile when you almost laugh, but something felt wrong. My mom was in the background of the photo, barely there behind my shoulder. Her face was right next to mine, her mouth twisted like a fishhook, and her eyes were intense. She looked like a completely different person. Nobody else seemed to notice her. Everyone was totally focused on Sarah, but I saw it. I saw her. I just sat there, staring at that picture for way too long. Rick came in from the kitchen, wiping his hands. "Whatcha looking at?" he asked, peering over my shoulder. "Yeah," I said, not moving. "That one's cute," he added, talking about a pic of Sarah with frosting in her hair. But I didn't show him the other one. I didn't say a word. I just quietly saved it in a folder called Evidence, all caps. The thing about moms like mine is you start to question if your memories are even yours. She had a way of messing with things, so I didn't know if I was freaking out or just hadn't dealt with it yet. But this time I had something. I had a picture of that exact moment. My brain was like, okay, that's enough. That was the first time I erased her from a photo. I went into my editing app, the same one kids use to airbrush themselves, and started small. I snipped her right out, erased her shadow too. Then I moved on to group pictures, mostly the ones taken in the backyard. The one where she's by the grill. The one where she's holding Sarah, but not really, her arms all stiff, like the baby was made of glass. Delete, crop, cover with paint. It became a compulsion, like fixing a cut you didn't realize was still bleeding. The next day, I printed out 10 of my favorite shots and hung them up in Sarah's room. They were all gorgeous, vibrant, happy, and completely missing Alina. A few days later, I got a message from Donna. "Hey, where's the pic of Grandma holding Sarah?" I told her the one from the cake didn't turn out, which was kind of the truth. That night, I dreamed about a family portrait, but whenever I tried to smile, my mother would lean in and whisper something that made my face just crumple up. I woke up with a fire in my gut. I wasn't going to let Sarah grow up hearing all the garbage I did. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for the next party picture or for another nasty little comment disguised as a joke. I wasn't going to let my mom insert herself into my daughter's life like she had mine, with her sharp tongue and fake smile. And if she couldn't love Sarah the right way, she just wouldn't get to love her at all. I grabbed my phone and went through every single photo, every text, every location tag, anything my mom had ever touched online. And I just started deleting. Picture after picture, message after message, memory after memory. Because sometimes revenge isn't some big dramatic thing. Sometimes it's just quietly hitting delete. And that was just the beginning. There's a difference between forgetting somebody and deciding they don't deserve to be remembered. I didn't really get that until I was standing in my laundry room, folding mismatched baby socks, and I remembered my mom calling me thick around the middle when I was 12. She didn't say it meanly, not in a way most people would notice, but there was this little something in her tone, like she was pointing out a flaw that she just knew was going to get worse. And she wasn't wrong. Things did get worse. Not my weight, but the way I felt about myself. By the time I was 16, she'd just come right out and call me plain. Sometimes she'd say it casually, other times right in the middle of a conversation, like she was doing me some kind of favor by saying it out loud before anyone else did. I remember curling my hair the night before prom, burning a piece because I held the iron on too long, and hearing her say through the cracked door, "She's just forgettable. Maybe it's the eyes." Like I wasn't even there, like I wasn't already trying to disappear faster than she could make me. At 22, I told her I was moving across the country. New start, maybe grad school. Her words didn't faze me. She just coldly said, "You were probably a mistake anyway," like she was rattling off a shopping list. I didn't break down in tears. All I did was nod, because what else can you do when someone just hits you with the raw truth? Either you absorb it or you throw it back up. I held on to it for ages, but now I've got Sarah, and something about becoming a mom makes you want to protect your kid or show them everything, inch by agonizing inch. I chose shielding because I knew how a deep wound could hurt from the get-go, and I'd rather Sarah be innocent than silently hurting before she even learns to talk. So I went digging, deeper than just the pictures. I unearthed ancient flash drives, cloud backups, and photo albums tucked away in drawers I hadn't opened in ages. At my wedding, Alina, my mother, was next to me with a smirk that seemed like she was watching a car crash in slow motion. I opened the image and painstakingly erased her from it. It took me 10 minutes. 10 minutes to scrub away years of her hovering nearby, clinging to me like she was allergic to any real love. She was gone. I looked at it. The space she once held now felt airy and bright. It looked better without her. Next, I moved on to the Christmas of 3 years ago. She casually said if I didn't cut down on the salt, Sarah would probably be born cross-eyed. She said it with a giggle, a fork halfway to her mouth. I just nodded, too wiped out to argue. No more lurking in the shadows of the photos, just the Christmas tree all lit up and Donna's little kid chucking an ornament at the cat. I actually removed her from like 24 pictures, which is weird because we only had 13 people over. But she always managed to worm her way into everything, like she just knew she had to be in every single second of it. Donna was the first one to call me out. She texted me 2 days after I put the edited album online. "Hey, where's your mom in these pics? Did she peace out early?" I typed and deleted my answer 3 times before settling on, "She must have stepped out when those were taken." It wasn't a lie, not exactly. Maybe in my heart, though. Rick caught on next. He didn't say anything right away, just gave me that long, slow look he does before deciding if he should hug me or suggest I see someone. Finally, at dinner, he was like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" I looked at Sarah, her face covered in mashed peas, totally innocent and adorable, and said, "I'm already halfway there." What I didn't say was, if I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back and stop myself. I'd go back even further and wipe Alina from every birthday, every dance recital, and every time I stood in front of the mirror hating myself because she'd given me the tools to feel that way. I was scrolling through my phone in the dark later that night, and a new text alert blinked at me, just one line. No hi or hey. It just said, "Why am I blocked from your daughter's baby album?" I just stared at it, the screen eventually going black. I didn't say anything back. I didn't have to. She knew why, she just didn't want to say it out loud. A little part of me was expecting her to send another message or call or even show up like nothing was wrong, pretending I was the dramatic one like I always misunderstood her, and her jabs were never mean, just little innocent comments. But she didn't. No further texts or calls. She didn't press the issue, probably because she knew, deep inside her, that I wasn't backing down this time. This time I was done and she wasn't coming back. There's a type of payback that doesn't involve smashed windows or raised voices. There aren't any black eyes, torn clothes, or tire tracks. It's a slow burn like poison, something that tastes okay at first before making you ill. And if you do it right, nobody can trace it back to you. That's how I started treating my mother, like she was this quiet sickness I was finally addressing after all those years of pretending I was okay. Yeah, it started with the pictures, but it didn't end there. Taking her out of the photos was only the start. Deep down, her toxic influence was everywhere, and I wasn't done cleaning it up, not even close. It started with the family calendar, the one Rick and I used for everything: birthdays, doctor appointments, Sarah's preschool, holidays, you name it. I took her email off the invite list, and she went ahead and deleted every single event she'd been invited to. Just wiped away every trace of herself. Then I changed the location for Sarah's daycare picnic and only told people I knew wouldn't blab. When Donna asked why the address was different, I just said they were having plumbing issues. That was all it took to satisfy her. When babies are involved, nobody questions logistics. Everyone just figures the mess is someone else's problem. Rick was side-eyeing me, the way you watch someone who suddenly starts carrying a knife. You just don't know if they're protecting themselves or planning something bad. Later, after Sarah was asleep and I was on the couch fixing up another old photo, he asked, "Are you going to tell her?" I didn't even look up. "Tell who what?" He gave me that tired look, the one that said, "Don't play dumb, Jenna, not with me." So I shut my laptop and looked him in the eye. "Are you going to tell your mother why you're shutting her out?" I just shook my head. There was so much I wanted to say, but I couldn't get the words out, not the way I needed to. "She doesn't deserve closure," I finally blurted out. It was the truest thing I'd said out loud in ages, and it hit me hard. She sure never gave me any. I remember being 10, wearing a brand new pink dress, so happy because the sleeves finally fit. We were in the hallway at home, and I was practically beaming. She just looked at me and said, "You were cuter before those teeth came in." It felt like she was looking at some messed-up grown-up she didn't want anymore, not her kid. That didn't exactly give me closure. Then there was my graduation. I was crying, I mean, who doesn't? And she's making fun of me, telling me no guy would ever want someone so emotional. Again, no closure. And don't even get me started on when she said Sarah would be ugly like me. So yeah, no way was I calling her up all nice and polite to tell her anything. No formal announcements for her. She'd find out the same way everyone else would by me not being around. But not being around, that leaves a hole. It's like smoke, you know. You don't notice it at first, but then it's everywhere, choking you, and you realize you should have gotten out a long time ago. I guess she felt it too, because not even a week after I told her to get lost from the picnic, she showed up at my front door. It was late afternoon on a Thursday. The sun was starting to set, and that warm, earthy smell was coming up from the flower beds I hadn't weeded since spring. Sarah was down on the floor, playing with her blocks, humming one of those baby tunes, you know, the ones that don't mean anything yet. Then the doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I even opened the door. Elena was standing there, all fancy, with this huge gift bag from some high-end store downtown, all glittery handles and ribbons. Instead of wrapping paper, she had that frozen smile on, the one she uses when she wants to seem nice but's really just going through the motions. And I gotta say, she didn't waste any time with small talk. No questions, no apologies, nothing. She just blurted out, "Thought I'd drop by to see Lily." I just stood there, didn't move. I wasn't gonna make it easy for her. Inside, Sarah stopped humming. She looked up, then at the door, then back down at her blocks. It was like something didn't quite click in her little brain. Finally, I let Elena in, more out of plain curiosity, really, than because I wanted to. Elena tried to get close to Sarah, getting down on her knees real slow, holding out that gift bag like some evil fairy godmother handing out poisoned candy. But Sarah didn't even budge. No smile, nothing. She just stared at Elena for a long beat before going back to her blocks, picking up the green one. And then, just like that, it was over. I saw Mom's face a flash of confusion, her lips drooping a tiny bit. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but I knew that face. I knew every little line, every crack in her carefully built-up wall. I waited, expecting Sarah to come closer, you know, like a little kid wanting comfort from a grown-up. But it never happened. Suddenly, everything clicked. Even babies can tell when someone's not being real, right? I just took the gift bag, no words, set it down on the table without even looking, and said what needed saying. "I think it's time you left." She didn't fight, didn't scream. Just a single nod and she was gone, her heels clicking on the floorboards as she walked out. Like she had somewhere super important to be, but she didn't. Not really, because I wasn't about to let her drag me down with her. I just made sure she never got another key. I always figured if anyone would have my back, really see what was going on and say, "Yeah, that happened. I saw it too," it would be my sister, Donna. She was right there with me, grew up in that same cramped house, the same suffocating rules and those icy silences that went on forever. She was there when Mom called me overdramatic for crying at Dad's funeral, then pulled Donna into the kitchen to whisper, "Thank God it wasn't you, sweetheart." And I couldn't believe she was there to hear Alina rip into my looks, then turn around and give Donna this fake, sweet smile, like it was coming from a completely different person. Back in our 20s, we joke about it, sprawled on my apartment floor with takeout and cheap wine. We'd call her Jackal and sometimes, if we were feeling brave, even Mom. But we never really talked about it seriously. We never got into why Donna always seemed to get the good stuff while I got the scraps. So when her text popped up, "Can we talk?" I knew exactly what was coming. The guilt trip, the confusion, the "aren't you overreacting just a little bit?" routine. And even though I knew it was coming, my stomach still twisted up. That same sick feeling I used to get as a kid when my mom, Alina, would call my name from across the house in that tone that made you instantly feel guilty, even if you hadn't done a thing. Donna showed up with coffee, her face all tight like she was trying not to scowl but couldn't quite help it. She didn't sit down right away, just kind of lingered by the counter like she wasn't sure she wanted to stay. I let her start because I knew the drill. She needed to feel like she was running the show. Finally, she said, real slow and careful, "You've been cutting her out of everything." Like if she said it softly enough, the accusation wouldn't sting. I just nodded and leaned back against the wall. "Yeah," I said, "I have." She paused, then added, "Isn't that, a bit much?" That's when I decided to show her the picture. I'd kept it, a physical copy, even though I'd sworn I was done with Alina. But this one wasn't for her, this one was for me, for proof. I slid the photo to Donna right across the table. It was the same one from Sarah's birthday party, the one where everyone else was cheering, and Alina was right up close to me, her face all twisted up like she was saying something awful. I told Donna straight up, "Alina said Sarah would end up ugly just like me." Donna just looked down at the picture, and there was this long, quiet pause. I saw her eyes kind of wander around the edges, checking out the faces and catching on my stiff smile. I just stood there, waiting for her to say something like, "Oh, you must have misunderstood her." But it didn't happen, not right away. Instead, her voice was barely a whisper. "You look happy in this one," she said. I slowly shook my head, feeling so drained. "Do you really think I was?" She didn't say anything. That silence, though, it cracked something in her. Not all the way, not enough to fix things, but enough to make her think that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't making it all up. Maybe all those years I got called sensitive, overly emotional, not funny enough. Maybe I was just the one who was being honest. It was too early for anyone to believe me. Then the whole thing blew up. That night, Alina put something on Facebook. This wasn't a private thing, no personal phone call or anything. It was a public post for all her friends and neighbors, the old ladies from church, everyone she used to work with, even people she barely knew from high school. It said, "My daughter has poisoned my relationship with my granddaughter. Please keep me in your prayers during this difficult time." Some people just don't get what family's all about until it's way too late. My post blew up 17 shares in the first hour. People were flooding the comments, sending well wishes and sharing their own stories about messed up kids. A few even talked about forgiveness. One woman wrote, "You're still her mother, don't give up on her." I sat there, stunned, in my dark kitchen, the phone's light practically burning holes in my eyes. My hands were shaking, I was furious, mortified, and I don't even know what else. Maybe it was grief, A tiny sliver of me still hoped she'd apologize someday, say she was wrong, that I didn't deserve her treatment. But that wasn't going to happen. She went completely ballistic. I almost didn't respond, let her stew in her own self-pity. But then I realized that staying quiet was what had kept me tied down for so long. She thrived on silence, never saying a word back to the nasty stuff people said. When things got tough, we just pretended they didn't happen. She expected me to swallow every insult like it was holy water. So I finally broke the silence, just one comment. "Pray for the woman in that picture," I wrote. "She doesn't exist anymore." By morning, over 200 comments. Some were on her side, some on mine, but the ones that really hit home were the ones asking, what really happened? For the first time, I wasn't running the show. Things changed in that weird space, that gap where everything felt shaky, all the carefully crafted lies. Maybe people didn't need to know everything. Maybe it was enough that I wasn't the only one talking anymore. After the big blow-up, it got real quiet. When the yelling finally stopped, the social media mess calmed down, and the door you shut on someone didn't rattle anymore, not because they quit trying to get back in, but because they finally gave up. That was the silence I woke up to on Thursday. I was holding a coffee, and Sarah was in her pajamas, crawling on the living room rug, munching on nothing, her little hands tapping the blocks that didn't light up anymore. The world seemed quieter, not exactly peaceful, but hollowed out in a way I'd never experienced before. It was like that quiet you get after you tear a house apart, and the floors still echo with the memory of what was. I'd been thinking about the baby book for months. Ever since Alina showed up with that gift bag and Sarah flinched, like her body knew not to take in the poison. Something clicked for me that day, something important and clear. It wasn't just about getting my mother out of the picture now. It was about making sure she couldn't get to the future, keeping her shadow from ever touching Sarah's memories. Because kids remember way more than you think. I can still hear the way their voices sounded, how tight my mom's face got, and how their hands would ball up every time the phone rang. It all came flooding back. I remembered every single thing. And I wasn't gonna let Sarah go through that kind of pain, not even a little bit. So I began writing it all down by hand, which felt more old-fashioned, like a prayer or something. I made a baby book myself with soft, colored pages and all those boy or girl questions. It had a brown leather cover, nice thick paper, and was sewn together. I wrote about Sarah being born. Her little fingers wrapped around my thumb like she already knew me. It was the first time she giggled at the dog's tail. She liked sweet potatoes way more than carrots. I wrote about Rick putting her crib together in the middle of the night, grumbling to himself, and how we argued about whether or not to play white noise when she slept. But I didn't write about Alina, not even a tiny mention, not even in the background, not even just her name by the guest list or presence. She was a ghost, and ghosts don't belong in baby books. Every page was like a tiny rebellion. Every pen stroke was like saying, "You're not welcome here anymore." Rick just watched me working on it, never said a word. He didn't ask me anything, didn't try to help. One night he came over, took the finished book from my hands, and put it on the shelf over Sarah's changing table very carefully, like it was something sacred. And maybe it was. The next morning, Sarah toddled over to that shelf, pointing with her little finger. She looked right at me, eyes big and hopeful, and out came her very first real sentence. Not just a word, a whole sentence. "Nana gone." I didn't cry, I didn't even flinch. I just smiled, knelt down next to her, and said, "Yeah, baby, she is." It wasn't mean. It wasn't even bitter, really. It was just the truth, plain and simple, the kind you don't have to explain. Because Alina wasn't just gone from our lives, I'd made damn sure she couldn't come back. Not as a whisper, not as some messed-up memory, not as a ghost playing pretend family. I didn't kill my mother. I just erased her, got rid of the thought of her. For a while, that was enough. Things got quiet, like dust settling on a windowsill. Rick and I started sleeping through the night. Donna kept her distance, not sure if she should be happy about the quiet or worried about it. I didn't pressure her one way or the other. With Alina gone, I could finally breathe, and I wasn't about to fill that space with guilt or trying to fix things that were broken beyond repair. Then, 6 months later, a letter showed up. No return address. No postmark I recognized. Just my name on the envelope in a handwriting I hadn't seen for years, not since my mother used to scribble her signature on my permission slips, all long and annoyed. I thought about burning it. I even held it over the sink, trying to feel if there was anything inside besides paper. But in the end, I opened it. This picture from when I was 13 is etched in my mind. I'm in it, no makeup, sporting those awful braces, a shirt way too big, and my hair all stringy in a ponytail. But I'm smiling. It wasn't fake, you know? A real, shy, hopeful kind of smile. It felt like whoever took the picture really, really loved me. On the back, she'd just written, "You were never ugly." No fancy explanations, no apologies, nothing. Just that one sentence, a confession whispered in fear. It's too late to mean anything and too soon to forgive myself for it, I guess. I looked at that photo for ages, not because I miss her or think she's changed. It was about remembering that girl. Remembering that even then, even with everything that happened, I felt worthy of being seen, worthy of having my picture taken. I never wrote back, never called, never sent a reply, but I didn't throw the picture away either. I kept it. Not for her, but for me, to remember what I went through, what I survived.